Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's Wednesday, November the 14th. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting. Would everybody please rise? Nikki, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening as we join to lead our community in such a righteous manner under your watchful eye. Please guide our board and help them make the best decision for the benefit of our court. Let us thrive only on honesty, on honor, on faithful protection, and unselfish performance. We pray this in your holy name.
Amen. I'd like to just add, Monday was Memorial Day, and I'd like to add an additional prayer to that, if I may. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you for the selfless service of those who gave their lives to protect our nation, preserve our freedoms, and restore peace in the face of brutal aggressors, to grant relief to those who continue to experience emotional or physical agony from their days of combat. We ask you to bless all living veterans in a special way today, as well as the families of all veterans. Give us a sense of responsibility for their welfare and stand with those who provide care to them. We pray for the day when no one needs to serve in the military. Help us to live now in anticipation of that day as people who long for peace, who pray for peace, and who seek to be peacemakers in this world. Amen. Amen. Campirano, Pledge of Allegiance, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, Texas flag.
Yeah.
Texas flag.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, do we have any
No one wishes to speak for the public audience.
no public audience tonight? Okay.
Item number 3, receive director's report.
Very quickly, you can pass that down. I just kind of want to report on a couple, well, actually 2 or 3 things. First is the trip to Washington, D.C. Took a trip to D.C. on October the 30th and returned on November the 1st. And the purpose of that trip was to continue to press for the fiscal year 2008 funding for our maintenance projects. There are 2 allocations in the federal budget as currently stands. One of them is for the continuation of the feasibility study for the deepening and widening of the channel. And the one we really need to press and have been working hard is that $3 million for the maintenance dredge. And essentially that's the inside jetty dredge. We did, the way that stands now is that there's $1 million in the Senate version of the budget, and there's $3 million in the House version of the budget. And what we did was we went to essentially express and make our best case that it needs to remain at $3 million. Anything less than $3 million is really not going to allow us to do much. We did meet with the Texas delegation, Congressman Ortiz. We met with representatives from the Senator Hutchison's office, Senator Cornyn's office. We also met with some of the appropriators, Congressman Pastor. We met with numerous individuals. Probably one of the most important meetings was a briefing that Congressman Ortiz had requested from the Corps, the Civil Works, Gary Lowe. And essentially we went over what the Corps had prepared on what the needs are for this area, and even $3 million is far short of what is needed to not only do the dredge of the inside jetty, but do the dredge of the entrance to the jetty, to do the Port Isabel area, and they also have a dust control projects that identified. I mean, those 4 alone is about $14.5 million. So not only was it to make sure we keep that funding level at $3 million in next year's budget, but also to begin the groundwork for fiscal year 2009. So I think those discussions went well. They were productive, and we'll just continue to press. You may have seen that Congress did override the veto for WRDA. That's a good thing. A lot of public works projects, especially core projects, are in that WRDA bill. First time in 7 years they've actually had a WRDA bill. So, you know, there's going to be some movement in the next year or 2 on starting to try to spend more money on things that concern us, and primarily waterway projects, maintenance, and of course the deepening and the widening. In addition to that trip, last week, Monday, and returned on Wednesday, I accompanied Tony Rodriguez from our staff and Norma Torres from the BRG, and we went to Monterrey and to Monclova to make calls on our steel customers. For me, it was an opportunity to meet them, those that I did not meet in Monterrey, but more importantly also to talk about plans for 2008. What I expressed to them was our desire to understand what their plans were for the Port of Brownsville in the coming years so we can plan appropriately. It does look like, even though we heard a lot about how the steel market is soft right now, apparently a lot of dumping going on from some of the cheap products, but at the same time they're all having better years than last year, and the prognosis for next year is even better than this year. So it could be that we're going to be certainly busier. I will tell you that just for November and December of this year, we're going to end the calendar year, very busy. There's an opportunity to do possibly in excess of 400,000 metric tons of steel just November, December of this year. So we're busy now. We're going to be busy for the rest of the year, and that looks good. And then the only last thing I want to report is that we will be keeping the regular meeting schedule for December, which will be the 5th and the 19th. We will not have a need to meet on the 28th of this month. So with that, unless you have any questions, that concludes my report.
So we don't have a meeting on November 28th?
No, we're going to keep the December schedule.
Looks like you met with quite a few individuals from the House and then the Senate at both sides.
Yeah, I've included my trip report there in your package, so at your leisure you can look at that. Yeah, we covered the gamut. I mean, we were busy, and we met some folks that are friends of the port. Congressman Young from Alaska, for example, ranking Republican on the appropriation. So it doesn't hurt to go and call on friends in high places either. So it was, I think, again, just carry the message that we really need that funding. So.
Thank you, Mr. Campirano. Next item.
Item number 4, consider an action on the following consent agenda items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 17, 2007. B, approval to authorize payments over $25,000. Item 1, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, the monthly premium for employee dependent health insurance, $45,854.51. Item 2, City Capital, which is a monthly lease rental payment for the mobile harbor crane, in the amount of $28,564.75. Item 3, Tipton Motors, Inc., purchase of 3 SUVs and 2 pickups, $81,175. Item C, approval of the following leases. Item 1, G&O Shrimp Company, new lease. Item 2, Palacios Seafood Company, Inc., doing business as Anchor Seafood, release. Item 3, Lasagne Enterprises, Inc., new lease. Item 4, Marine Railway, Inc., new lease. Item 5, Gulf Trawler Services, Inc., release. Item 6, Marine Railway, Inc., new lease. Item 7, Valley Ice and Fuel Company, Inc., release. Item 8, Valco, Inc., release. Item 9, Brownsville Public Utility Board, new lease. Item 10, Marine Metals, Inc., new lease. Item 11, Transforma Marine Corp., release. Item 12, Marine Metals, Inc., new lease. Item 13, Transforma Marine Corp., release. Item 14, International Shipbreakers Limited, LLC, amendment. Item 15, Rio Grande Shredding Company, LLC, new lease. Item 16, International Shipbreaking Limited, LLC, release. Item 17, GSA National Marine Fisheries Extension. Item 18, Border Financial Services, Inc., doing business as AMEX, new lease. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
request to table under 4C, items 9 through 13.
9 through 13.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You did hear PUD approve the lease.
Yes, he did, but I did not receive it.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 5, presentation by Mr. Stanford Knowles on the conceptual layouts of the new proposed canopy entrance to the Port of Brownsville.
Chairman Logan, good afternoon. As part of our continuous improvement, we have the need to provide some weather protection for our officers at the main entrance. And instead of having some sort of standard warehouse on top of them, I thought it would be interesting if we could look at various conceptual designs and get an input from professionals directly involved in that. So we retain Mr. Stanford Knoll, who has been assisting us in coming up with some views. Of course, let me pass it along to Mr. Stanford Knoll, who will present us some general conceptual layouts for your consideration.
If I may, want to pass these out. What we actually did was look at a way to not just put a canopy, but put a front door to the Port of Brownsville. I wanted to make sure that we were able to, through our efforts, and I did about 20 different layouts before I came up with this one. The ideas that we had in mind were rather expensive. This one is closest to our budget. And I actually put some more things that I think are more exciting for the port. The Port of Brownsville is very spread out, and it's very hard to notice where the front is. This actually will help us get a front door. The first drawing that you'll see actually lays out a 40 by 100 canopy that covers all 4 lanes. And it shows the truck lanes coming through, and that shows a side turnout at the bottom of the page for a side canopy where if there's a truck that needs extra inspection, it can be pulled over to the side. And that will also be the canopy. These are under the requirements that were given to us for the port. The second drawing is a 2D layout. The one I want you to pay particular attention to is the section of the entry canopy on the lower right, on the second page. On this one?
Yes.
That essentially explains the type of material that we had in mind for the product. Even though it's a big front, the section shows that it's a Y shape. It does 2 things for us. Normally, if you put in a canopy, if you look at Sarita, Checkpoint is a great example. Everybody's been through it. You've got 4 posts at all corners. Not very attractive, very functional, but in our case, if we drop a single foundation in the center, we're going to save some money on the foundation, utilize that money and put it into the canopy, make it a better look. So it comes up with a little bit of what I call, for lack of a better term, a Y shape. In the front view, on the bottom of the page, what I've done is I've actually put the name, the Port of Brownsville, on the building so that we actually see, and those letters will be 3 feet tall. So that, in a good sense of the word, if you drive over the overpass, you'll be able to see this from the overpass.
Yes.
So now we have a front to the port. So I'm excited about doing that. I think that's an addition to what initially we were asked to do. At the center, it shows a small screen area. That actually can be a projector behind a canvas, not really a canvas, it's an outdoor screen, projection type screen, so that you can put on welcome, bienvenidos, there's alert 1, we can show it in color, you can put the hours of operation, and you can actually have it on a revolving changeover to actually change that every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds so that we have a notification to whoever's coming into the port what's going on in the port, if there might be a security problem, something of that nature. The third page shows the side canopy, as I call it, the turnout canopy. This would be for trucks coming in that need extra inspection. We want to pull them off to the side so that they can get special attention while the other traffic continues past them. And this is actually a good, quick cantilever canopy. It's a single cantilever to one side, same materials. And the good part about this with that angled roof, this will actually have a lot of good shade because on this picture, the right side of it is the south side, so that the majority of the day the sun is going to give a good long shadow over that particular canopy. On the next, we just colored in the front, and that's a 2D drawing, and it shows the trucks going through. We're 18 feet clear at the lowest point on the canopy. The next page, I did a quick rendering. Now this, of course, doesn't show all the lanes, but it does give the idea. This is a 3D picture of what the canopy could look like. That one is 2 of the 3 things we want to help do is not just the canopy, make sure that sign, and the sign, I think on the next page really makes it interesting in the sense that the sign, what I intend to do with that, or like to do with that, is what's called expanded metal. This is Armstrong's corporate facility. You can actually have that imprinted, and it's actually the wind can go through this. So it actually helps us have a less costly structure in the sense that wind goes through it, it's less costly to build for windstorm requirements. And of course, this would all be for windstorm requirements. The next picture, of course I found these on the internet, is more in keeping with what the actual canopy would look like. This would be more like the side canopy. If you enlarge upon that, the Y would come out on the opposite side for the main canopy. So that just actually shows the canopy itself. And that has a perforated metal for a roof just as a shade structure. Ours would be a solid structure because that's part of our requirement. The next picture actually shows a close-up view of the perforation, how that actually works, and what we can mount the signs to. The last page does run through an estimate for us. Now, I've gone beyond what I was initially asked to do, and the first thing I'll say is that this is a conservative estimate, and normally what I do is I try to put together a conservative estimate. We don't want to be under. I don't want to come in and say I can give you the sky and end up a goat. I'd rather be a hero. So we always make sure that our estimates have a conservative approach to them. And I say that especially today because the prices have gone up 30 to 40, even 50% over the last 3 years, as we all know. In this, I've got from city permit, builder's risk insurance, all the way through. I've got a little bit for landscaping, all the way through to the final number. And in explaining this, the items that we would always have to cover is the foundation. You can see the foundation subtotal at about $30,000. The guard shack improvements, which I'd like to see beyond just doing the canopy. I think it would be a great improvement. Concrete barrier improvements that are probably needed. The steel canopy structure and the steel soffit. Now, the steel soffit would be the underside. We could actually leave it open on the underside and leave the structure exposed. But as we discussed in our meetings with Hector and Eddie and I, we visited and talked about this. If we leave the structure exposed, it's a perfect place for pigeons to roost, and it becomes a problem over time. So that could be considered an added number. The expanded metal face, which is what we actually mount the sign on for the Port of Brownsville. There's a number in for that. I threw in $1,000 for landscaping. The signage itself is $15,000 for the sign itself, for the lettering, the big letters that would go on the sign, so that they are letters that are going to last. We don't want something inexpensive that's not going to last. The screen and projector, I threw a budget number of $20,000 in for that. And then the only item I do not have a number on is security system. And I think that's something that we could we talked about easily carrying that through the security system that's already there. So there's very little to tie in. We got electrical, light fixtures, subtotal. I put a builder's profit of 15% after the subtotal, and that's actually more of a contingency. I think we would probably find that there will be some bidders who would come and do this for about a 10% profit if we put this out for bids, standard bids. And if this is something that we'd like to proceed with, I'd like to see us go to working drawings and take it out for best qualified proposals so we can qualify the contractors that come in to show us their numbers.
A couple things, if I may. Yeah. One is that I guess the reason for going this route versus what we had is that when I saw it, it basically looked like it was going to be a big drive-through party barn for trucks. And I think it is important that you do something about the face of the port and the entrance to the port. Also realizing that we have a budget to work with. And one of the thoughts and how Stan came into the picture is that if you go to across from the H-E-B on Jose Marti, on Ruben Torres rather, and you see the city's bus transfer facility and some of its kind of covers, and that's kind of where the idea came from, that, you know, we need to do something differently, because while we have a very practical need to have to provide this cover, as well as have to comply with the encouragement of some of the new security requirements for screening and site screening, we also, I felt it was prudent to maybe look at a little bit more and address the issue of, you know, how do you want to present your port when people are coming into it. And so while we do have a budget, and I can see that this is well beyond what our budget is, and there's probably some things here we can work with, you know, I think it is well worth the effort to do it, and do it right the first time, and be able to take into account that you are also making a presentation. It isn't just let's just comply as cheaply as we can, because for that matter we could have slapped the beer sign on it and that's what it would have looked like, a drive-through party bar. And so Stan, I think, has come up with some concepts that, you know, can fit within our budget, and we can certainly, with your okay, we can proceed to kind of refine this a little bit better and get it a little closer to budget. But the other thing is that, you know, we can phase this project too. Some of the things on here, the way it would work is what we can't do this year, we can possibly look to fund some of it next year and come back and complete it. There's some things on here that you know, while we can make arrangements to have it ready, we can always come back in next year's budget and complete it as well.
Well, if I may too, I'll address two things. I've got there's a first line item, keep both canopies together. Okay, you see the total at the bottom. The side canopy could be possibly something so that could be deducted. The other thing is, I added the screen and projector. I added the steel soffit underneath. I added the signage. So, you know, those are items for consideration. We could, as he said, we could easily trim it back to the budget. We could also make the canopy a little bit smaller. So there's various things to do. We just need your direction on which way to go with it. I just wanted to present you what I thought would be the best presentation for the Port of Brownsville.
You know, I believe that, you know, we're starting to do new restrictions on our lessees, to making sure that they beautify their sites, and I think we have to lead by example. So I like what I'm looking at here. But my one concern I do have, do we ever have an issue where trucks have a load higher than this, where we might have a problem with passing through?
We would probably bring it in for the back way.
Yeah. We would also have.
And not higher, but wider.
It can be opened up.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me?
511.
And then 511 entrance.
Yeah.
It can
We
be
have
opened
something.
up.
Or you bring in Chemical Road.
Well, what worries me about, you know, if we do the Chemical Road, we should be somewhat, you know, we should kind of copy whatever we do here. We need to copy there. So, I mean, would exiting this way be a problem whatsoever that you all foresee? If we ever have something that's taller than?
I think in most cases, I mean, you might have you know, exceptions where you know, you might have to do something differently, but I think, you know, this would comply with all the requirements.
Right. No, I'm just checking, making sure that if for whatever reason there's a load that has a certain height, that there's a way out.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There is.
I think Eddie, that I just think we set our budget too low for this project.
We talked about that as well.
I think, you know,
we saw some concepts that, I mean, it really could have made a statement.
I mean, that's, you know, it's an artificial number that we just didn't know what we really needed. And as far as I'm concerned, I agree with you. Let's do it right the first time. And I think Stan's work speaks for itself. I know the transfer station there that you spoke of on 802 is a magnificent design.
Which I designed, by the way.
Right, I know that. It's a magnificent design, and I'd like to see you do that out here. I just think our budget is too low. I think we need to amend our budget. Now, I don't know that we can go all the way to 278.
Well, and again, I
But that's including the side
realize
canopy.
each number has got about a 10% contingency in it. So I am confident that we're going to be under that number.
I mean, I think we can find more money in our budget.
I don't disagree. In fact, that we'll probably be, we're doing the budget amendment, probably we'll bring it to you next month, and so this is one of the things that we're going to be looking to try to, certainly beef up the budget a little more. But there are some things in here, like I said, that we can put off or that are not critical at this point
I
that
agree.
we can phase in either next year's budget or do something.
But I like the idea of I like his concept on the front elevation on the entry canopy. I think we should do that. I see the purpose and the use of the digital screen, although I'm not sure that that's something that we really need.
That's one of those items that you can have it ready and
No,
you can
the
do it
screen.
when you need it.
The message. But I will tell you that I would like to see you do something, Stan, here that you did over at the transfer station where you involve the community in the tiles,
The artwork.
in the artwork. If you could do something like that here, where maybe, the employees, not just at the V&D, but at port businesses could have some role in that. If you can think about that.
That actually was 1% of the budget.
Some real creative.
Okay.
And we actually, what
Put in
Peter's
little
referring to
tiles.
is you go by the transfer station and get out of your car and take a walk around because it's a lot of fun. We actually had an awful lot of people come in. We had, for 2 days at Sunrise Mall, we had ceramic tiles, 6 by 6, and we had little crayons that we actually had the kids come in and color on. And it was all to be transportation related. Well, we got high schools and elementary schools, and we got the family names and everything else. But we took all those tiles, we glazed them, and then we mounted them on the transfer station. And it's actually twofold because that helps get rid of graffiti, in a big sense of the word. We also financed 3 scholarships at UTB for a full semester for 3 students that helped us put together the murals that you'll see on the project. And they're all transportation related through the years for Brownsville. So it's a lot of fun. You'll see some shrimp boats. You'll see some ships coming through the port. So it was a fun project.
If you can do the same thing, because this is their port as much as it is their transfer station.
Right. We felt like, just like TechStop, we could use one for 50%, and actually that project was 80% funded by the federal government through FAA.
Right.
So it was great. It's a good project.
Well, this project is 100% encouraged by the federal government.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not helping with the funding.
It's encouraged. That's exactly right.
I would like to see us, Mr. Campiano, work towards getting this done by way of a budget amendment, perhaps at our December meeting, so that we can get on with this project. I think it's something that we could all be proud of.
With it. I think we are on a timeline on it, so this will help us certainly convince the Coast Guard that we are moving to get it done.
Very good. Good design.
I just had a question, Mr. Knowles, regarding accommodation for expansion in the future. There's 2 incoming and 2 outgoing, right?
Right now. There's 2 incoming and 2 outgoing. And actually, if you notice from the drawing, the canopy does extend beyond.
Yeah.
So there's room
actually
for future
There's
accommodation.
enough room for another lane on both sides.
Okay.
With the canopy as
Yeah, now keep in mind that ultimately, that the entrance to the port will be relocated to what would be the 511 alternative.
Right.
But again, that's some time away.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that if we continue to pursue the East Loop extension and the overweight truck, we may be looking at something similar to a south entrance to the port as well. So for now, this would remain, but the 511 alternate project, while it's on the books, we may not see that for another 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
One of the things we actually explored was whether we build half of it now and half of it later on the main entrance canopy. The one reason I would discourage that is that 3 years down the road we put the second half of the main entrance canopy, the colors on the roof material are going to fade.
Different.
Yeah.
They may be a little different. What I've quoted is, powder-coated metal, which will stand up over time, but it still gets a little bit of color fade.
And last but not least, on the page where the side canopies are at, that's able to accommodate 3 different trucks simultaneously or all at the same
The
time?
side canopy was
One only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's 70 feet long, so I mean, if it's a shorter truck.
Just in case they have to.
Just in case they have to inspect it.
Do we ever have to inspect trucks going, do we have to inspect trucks
Okay.
going out?
But that'll be only one side canopy.
Yes, sir.
Well, good information. I definitely also echo the sentiment that we can definitely come back and hopefully look at, possibly make a budget amendment to make sure that, we do it right the first time.
Good work.
Thank you,
Sure.
Mr. Knowles.
Thank you.
Item number 6, consider an act of authorizing the court director to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with the Rio Grande Council Boy Scouts of America.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the Boy Scouts of America have approached the Navigation District for leasing the property, the bit of property that we own on South Padre Island to continue the Laguna Station Adventure Camp. The Scouts have had a presence out there for quite some time, and they wish to remain out there, and so in their negotiations with the county for the county portion of that land also brings us into play. Commissioner Zavaleta and I did go to see the adventure camp or to actually meet with representatives of the Scouts to talk about what it is they want to do, and I think I'll let Commissioner Zavaleta kind of comment on those discussions. I would also tell you that we do have representatives of the Scouts here, and so they're here to certainly answer any questions that we may have. We're really looking at a simple, straightforward lease. We're talking about a 10-year lease with a 5-year initial term and a 5-year renewal. The Scouts will pay the district $4,200 a year for the use of that. There's not going to be any kind of major improvements out there. A lot of their stuff is portable, but it is a very unique setting. It really creates a great sense for the Scouts and having, we're never going to be a Mount Philmont, but nobody else is going to have an adventure camp on a beach setting quite like this one either. So I think it would be something that we should certainly work with the Scouts to do, and with that I'll just turn it over to Commissioner Zavaleta.
Well, and I appreciate that, Eddie. Let me in turn turn it over to the representatives from the council, if you would like to address us as to what specifically the land will be used for, and then I might have a couple of closing thoughts.
Thank you very much for having us, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, giving us an opportunity to look forward to 10 more years of high adventure and scouting. The scouting program in the Rio Grande Council is basically all of Brownsville all the way up to Zapata County, so it's the whole valley. We bring into to this area kids from all over the country as well as their own kids. Giving them an opportunity. Some of our kids in Brownsville have never really been out on the ocean. Some of the kids in Zapata County have never seen water. This gives them an opportunity to do high adventures such as scuba diving and deep sea fishing and learning how to sail a boat. Very basic, essential things for building character and developing good citizenship, and that's what we're about. We're about creating future leaders. And through these high adventure programs, those are the vehicles we utilize to get kids out of their limited scope, to look forward to incredible adventures, and these are life-affirming and life-changing adventures in most cases. So that's what we do. Presently, the location is on the spit. That's available right there at the tip of the island between the jetties and the Coast Guard station. We have built a limited use facility. It's really basically a lot of grassy area, some rocks, and a little bit of sand. And on the side that the Port Authority, we found the Port Authority owns. For a long time, we were leasing it from the county. They didn't own it. So we came to you to say, hey, we're renegotiating with them to see if we can do the same price we've been paying for several years, except we went out there and looked at it. It looks about 50-50, 50 county and 50 Port Authority. So equitably split it in half and pay you guys what you deserve and pay the county what they deserve. So that's our proposal, to be able to do something good for kids in this community. And what can I say? If you have any questions with regards to this.
Did you have any plans to do any kind of development, or just leave it as is and just use of the
limited use? Yeah, we're not going to build a high-rise or a casino. I promise. It's not my honor.
You wouldn't mind.
The existing structure that we built a long time ago was a shower house, basically, toilet facilities and shower house, limited use. We have some portable containers we placed on there for storage of equipment for safe keeping, and those are portable as well. Our tents, well, we've got wooden platforms that can be lifted away and removed. We camp out. We rough it. Scouting is an outdoor experience, and that's what we have presently in these locations. We use it as a home base. The majority of the activities that we do are underwater or on top of the water.
Good.
Thank you.
The majority of the structure that you see in the pictures that are attached, I think the biggest thing that's out there, and in fact they're going to take that down, is going to be that roof canopy, but there is a concrete foundation. There's a couple of concrete foundations. Those are really the most substantial structures that are there, other than the bathrooms.
A lot of sandstores.
Yeah, it's still pretty natural, like you see it in these pictures, is what's actually out there.
I remember in the late 80s, when Mr. Bastedo was superintendent of the school district, he had a program called You Like the Beach, Stay to Teach, and it was a way to recruit the co-eds from Minnesota and Wisconsin that would come down here for spring break. They liked it so much they would stay here and make it a permanent home. And I see some potential here for scouts from all over the country that say, you know, I had a really good time as an Eagle Scout in what was it, South Padre? I want to come back. So I see that as a possibility. I also see this as an immediate direct benefit to the island and their tourism trade from the indirect benefit from...
There's a lot of indirect impact that we have of our scouters. They use it as a home base, and the kids love to go to Schlitterbahn. They like to go buy T-shirts down in town, take the shuttle. They spend a lot of time in town, I promise you this, the older kids especially.
And then thirdly, from a purely personal perspective, as I end my term of service here at the B&D, I want to make sure that the land that we own is being put to a good use and for a good reason, and that's another reason why I'm in favor of this. So I would certainly welcome this lease and know that it would be in good hands with the Boy Scouts. So I make a motion that we, is the lease ready for signature, Mr. Renfro? Or?
No, it's not. I think it'll look substantially the same as the county lease, but we'll have to dot the i's on that. But I noticed that the agenda item is to authorize the Port Director actually sign it.
Right.
And it would be substantially the same as the county lease that you see.
Well, I move that we negotiate, I move that we authorize Mr. Campiano to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with the Rio Grande Council of Boy Scouts of America on the parameters substantially similar to what the county currently has, as long as that document is approved by legal counsel.
Second.
Okay. I'd just like to add a question for council. Does the lease agreement have something where, you know, we get a casino or a high-rise that wants to build there? Would it have language where these folks would have an option to be moved out of there?
That's my recollection, is that there was, and we can work with that also to be specific to protect them in the case something unforeseen happens.
Yeah, they get a cut of the proceeds.
Okay.
A couple rooms.
However,
fundraising for a while.
However, the Brownsville Navigation District is not expressing an opinion one way or the other on that venture. Is that correct? I mean, are you asking that we express an opinion on that?
I think we at least have it in writing that just in case we do get an interested individual or corporate company that wants to do something there in the future and they won't be able to do it because we have the Boy Scouts there should be some type of clause in there.
And I don't think he's referring necessarily to a casino.
No, not necessarily.
Just develop it, maybe a park, it could develop it into a park later.
Well, I think
and
the
that-
approach, I mean, granted, I understand what you're saying. There has been talk about looking at that site as a potential cruise ship terminal. I think realistically, though, is that we have no plans, whether it's in the immediate future or even, right now, what we're going to do with that property. If there was an opportunity to find a viable use for it, and keep in mind that this is a big piece of property, but the majority of it is submerged. So we're only talking about 3.5 acres of what is non-submerged land. That's not a whole lot to do a lot of things. Now, if you did a park there, it would be in keeping with what I think a lot of folks think the island was intended to do for Isla Blanca. But at this point, we have no plans. I think we could word it in such a way that if there were going to be, viable use for it, we need it back, that, we could work to, either to make the scouts whole or accommodate them in some other way. But at this point, I mean, we have had no plans, and the only discussion that has come up in the past that I'm aware of has been as a potential for a cruise ship terminal. I think when the bridge went out, if you recall, the ferry crossing was close to there, but right now, if I'm not mistaken, the county is building a new fishing pier there. So, I mean, even that. So it's going to remain very much, I think, in the kind of use you see there in the foreseeable future.
But going to the chairman's specific question, will the lease include language that causes the lease to revert back to the B&D if there is a casino or similar development?
It won't say anything about it.
No, I don't think so. I think if,
That was just a figure of speech because he used that, and
No, it will not say that.
any building interested party.
All of our leases address our right to relocate somebody in the event that we have a need for port purposes.
I think that covers it then.
Yeah.
As long as we're not any more specific than that, because I certainly don't want to. I personally don't want to vote for a motion that expresses an opinion on that issue without fully debating it.
No.
Right. Okay.
No, it will not address
No.
that.
Okay, well, thank you. That being said, we have a motion on the table on item 6 from Commissioner Zavaleta and seconded by Commissioner De Los Santos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7, consider an act to...
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Consider an act to grant signature authority to the Port Director and CEO and to the Deputy Port Directors to authorize wire transfers to be sent out of the district's bank account.
As we are moving into our overnight permits online, a lot of our customers are very uncomfortable with dealing electronically. So what they are continuing to do is to bring in their money. We put it into our bank and we need to immediately wire it into their escrow account and with ProMiles. That's requiring us to do almost daily wire transfers. At the last meeting, I was asked to investigate whether we could assign that authority over to Mr. Campiano and the people to actually authorize the wire transfer. And we have those documents ready for you. This would be in relation to that one account only.
Just a second. And the payees of these transfers would be who specifically?
It's ProMiles.
Okay. And it would be limited to that and only for that purpose?
That's right.
Will that be in, how would we ensure that with the bank? Does the bank get, like, in essence, a signature card that limits it for that purpose? Okay.
The attached document, the bank document that's attached kind of spells that out.
Does it limit it to that? Okay.
That one account, right?
Right.
I mean, all that money goes into one account, and those wires go to that one specific place.
Okay.
I saw that it's only extends to that account, but what I didn't see specified was the purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we will make sure that that's in.
Right. Subject to that, I concur.
Excellent. Do we have a motion on the table?
Second.
We have a motion for item number 8 by Commissioner Manso, seconded by Commissioner Luigi.
For number 7.
Cristiano. I'm sorry, number 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8, consider an act to approve payment of the district's pro-rata portion of the Cameron County Appraisal District budget for fiscal 2008. The district's pro-rata portion is 1.115397% of the total budget, or $41,778.
This is the approval for essentially payment The district has no option. It's a legal requirement that we have. The question is, how's it doing? Compared to last year, ours has gone up about $1,200. And the thing that impacted us was all the changes to the school district. And they are impacting a little less because they were saying a little bit more, so the residents are picking up that difference. Again, it's a very small.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for item number 8.
Item number 9, consider an act to declare the buildings and other materials and equipment located on the ex-Senora Bonita lease site as surplus to the district's needs and to authorize the salvage auction team to dispose of it.
This is a site that's been inactive for a very long time. We finally have gone in and inventory, but there's two very small, old tin buildings, and we would like your authorization to declare those surplus and to remove those buildings.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 10, consider an action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, Bay Bridge of Texas Authority to negotiate.
Chairman, Commissioners,
Bay Bridge of Texas is requesting to lease approximately 1 acre across from the proposed area site in this area for employee parking. I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, G&O Shrimp Company, Motor Vessel Challenge 42, Inc., authority to negotiate.
G&O Shrimp at the Fishing Harbor is selling their improvements to Motor Vessel Challenger 42, Inc., and is requesting to transfer their lease on a site that they only have about 20 feet of frontage and no way of unloading their boats. So they're asking the board to give me authority to negotiate the transfer of his lease over to G&O and give a release to G&O of that site.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor for item number 3?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion motion carries.
Item number 3, G&O Shrimp Company, Marine Railway, Inc., authority to negotiate.
G&O is also selling their improvements under contract 3060 to Marine Railway and are requesting a release of their lease subject to our negotiating a new lease with Marine Railway. I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate the release and the new lease.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4, G&O Shrimp Company, authority to negotiate.
G&O is asking to lease the old ex-Fernanda site at the Fishing Harbor. They have acquired a lease under the ex-Anchor Seafood. This would be a site right next to that. There is some piling that is broken on that dock. We have a program in place to repair those piling. And so I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a new lease minus the dock until such time that they're repaired, and then we will add that to the cost of that site.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5, A&T Port Mart Ltd. authority to negotiate.
A&T Port Mart is across from Amazon, and after surveying for a new tenant, we discovered that there is an easement there that needs to be included in their site, plus they requested some additional parking. So I'm asking the board to negotiate an amendment to the lease to correct the meets and bounds and to add the additional land for that. Thank you.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6, 905 Logistics LLC, Bulk and Packaging Logistics LLC, authority to negotiate.
905 and BMW have made an agreement between the two companies to run a rail spur that's going to take in, be in a part of the BMW site. The staff felt that it would be better to make an amendment to both of these leases, to add the language in there in case in the future one of these companies sells or something happens, and then there will be problems if it is not if it's not written and we don't have an amendment to include this language in.
Chalk this up to past experience.
So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate and make this.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7, Gulf Shrimp Fuel, Inc., Reyes Marine Industries, Inc., authority to negotiate.
Gulf Shrimp is selling their improvements to Reyes Marine, and then asking a release of their lease and subject to our negotiating a new lease with Reyes. Reyes has a lease right next to this property, so it would be good for them to add the additional dock and land there. I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a new lease or an amendment to Reyes and a release to Gulf Shrimp.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 11, consider an act to authorize staff to advertise for bids for a 2,000-gallon tank water.
Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Fernando, good afternoon. As you may have read in the backup section to this agenda item, our existing water truck is a 1984 model that was purchased back in 1996. The truck has served the port well but needs to be replaced. I am recommending that the board authorize staff to advertise the bids for the purchase of a water truck with a minimum 2,000 gallons.
Are we looking for a new or used?
We're gonna go out for both.
Both options? Good.
For an option, yes.
Good.
How many gallons do we currently have on the old one? 2,000, same? So it'll be the same size?
It'll be the same size. Same size. Hopefully, it's, like it says, it was a 1984, so the water distribution is outdated. So this new one would be more current.
Tank leaking?
Well, we fixed that one.
Patched it up, huh?
That's part of the dust settling program.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12,
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
adjourn into executive session.